Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgia. I hope you're well. Welcome to this week's reading vlog. So I recently added all of my physical books to my Goodreads want to read shelf. So every single book that I physically own right now is on my Goodreads. And the number that I came out with actually makes me feel a little bit sick. So I have 334 books on my physical TBR. The fact that that's over 300 actually makes me feel a bit sick. Like, I feel like I have so many books to get through. I know I buy books so much quicker than I read them, and I really need to get that under control because, you know, I'm never ever going to catch up to this and it's making me a little bit stressed. So we're starting TBR Takedown. It is official. We are on it. I'm going to do this over on my TikTok and Instagram for the individual books, and then here we will do our longer form content with like probably about 3 books per video. So that is my plan, so follow along. Let's see if I can try and get my TBR under ideally 300 by the end of this year, because I'm not happy. It's actually really stressing me out that I've got that many books on my physical TBR. So we're going to try and remedy this. So for today's video, we're probably going to pick 3 books in total. I'm just going to mood read. I'm going to see sort of like how I feel and what I want to pick up. I have obviously got my TBR for this month that I'm going to be working from, hopefully, but equally if I just want to pick up something else, I'll just pick up something else, because, you know, if you're not in the mood for it, you're not going to enjoy it. And every book on my bookshelf is here because I want to read it and I think I'll like it. So it's all about the timing. It's all about reading the right books at the right time. So that's what we're going to do. So welcome to episode 1 of TBR Takedown. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's choose our first book. So the first book that I want to jump into in this video is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is book 1 in the Friend Zone trilogy by this author. I've got like a stack of Abby Jimenez books and I've read about 5 of them now, and I've really enjoyed all of them. Every book I've read by this author I've rated 4-star and above. I love her writing so much. I feel like all of her writing has like this really lovely, beautiful romance, but also has like a really sad topic running throughout, and I just think they're written so well. I absolutely love Abby Jimenez's writing, so I'm really hoping to feel the same about this one. I've had this on my TBR for the longest time. I feel like this was probably the first book I ever got by this author, and I still haven't read it, and I think part of that is because I've heard that like this series is nowhere near as good as like the Part of Your World series, and therefore like it's now slightly put me off reading it, but it's time. I just need to bite the bullet and jump into these ones. I do think I'll enjoy them. I think I've just sort of let other people's opinions slow me down with these ones a little bit, so I'm really excited to jump into these ones. So it is time that we jump into these and stop letting other people's opinions put me off reading it, because, you know, I love Abby Jimenez's writing. I can't imagine an Abby Jimenez book being bad, so I think we'll be fine. So we're going to jump into this one first. So I'll just quickly read you the synopsis for this one, and then we're going to jump straight in and start reading it. He's the best man, and that's the problem. Kristen Peterson is perfectly fine. She has friends she'd fight to the death for, and the very best dog in the world, Stuntman Mike. Everything's calm and peaceful in the world of Kristen, until she starts to plan her best friend's wedding and meets the best man, Josh Copeland. Josh is funny, sexy, stands up to her sarcasm, and is always one snack ahead of her hangry. Even Stuntman Mike adores him. But he wants a big family, and Kristen knows children are probably not part of her future. She's sure he'll be better off with somebody else, someone who can give him everything he wants. So Kristen keeps him at arm's length, in the friend zone. But as their attraction grows, it's harder and harder to resist falling for the man who seems to be everything she's not allowed to have. I just think this one sounds like such a lot of fun. I feel like I read so many books about people having like big families and sort of like those single dad romances and all that sort of vibe, so I think it's going to be interesting to read one that's about not having families, if that makes sense. But I am intrigued by this one. It sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like we're going to have the usual sort of sad topic running throughout this one, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I like the idea of it being like the maid of honour and the best man. I think that's going to be a really interesting addition to this book as well. So let's go get comfy and jump straight into the friend zone. So I'm here with sort of like a midway check-in for this one. I'm on chapter 28, which is page 240, and it's probably about 60 to 70% through this already. I'm flying through it. I'm really enjoying it. In true Abby Jimenez style, there are some very sort of sad topics running throughout this book, and I feel like she always handles them with so much care. So this book does talk a lot about sort of infertility, and I feel like obviously I'm only 24, I don't have any kids, I'm not trying for any kids or anything, so it's something I've not really experienced, so I find it quite interesting to read about that and the effects that has, not only on like our main female character, but on like all the people around her and like her decision making and the effects it has on like her friends and family and things like that. And it's really good that this is something that's sort of been written, because like I think there'll be quite a lot of people like me that have read this and didn't really know the true sort of issues surrounding it. Obviously I know about it, but like I've never seen firsthand the effects of it, luckily, from like sort of me and my family and things. It's not something that I don't know anybody that struggles with this sort of issue, so it's definitely been quite educational for me, and something that I don't want to use the word enjoyed reading about, but something that I've enjoyed being educated about, if that makes sense. So I'm really enjoying that like sort of emotional side of it, and then I'm also really enjoying the romance. Obviously I've read the synopsis in the clip I did yesterday. Yes, that was only yesterday. I'm literally smashing through this book. I'm probably going to finish it tonight as well. So in this one we're following the best man and the maid of honour for this wedding, and we are following them sort of going through all the motions of planning this wedding and getting everything sorted and helping the bride and groom and that sort of stuff, whilst they're also sort of battling with these really difficult feelings. So yeah, I'm not giving you any spoilers, it does say this on the back, but like our main male character wants this big family and all these kids, and our main female character does want family and kids, but equally knows it's not really something that's on her cards. So she's trying to keep him at a distance for like his sake, but doesn't want to sort of tell him why she's keeping him at a distance. She feels like she'd be putting him in a position where he would have to choose whether he wanted her or wanted this big family, and didn't want to put him in that position. So doesn't want to tell him really what's going on and why she won't accept this relationship when they clearly have all this amazing chemistry and all these amazing feelings. And like there's been some like offhanded comments that he's made where he's been saying like him and his last girlfriend didn't work out because he wanted this big family, and that's not something that she wanted. And like he basically told her to leave her ex because he didn't want kids, and like, why wouldn't you want kids? That's weird. And like, why don't you want to have loads of like a big family? And it's sort of been this uncomfortable back and forth with them where they both clearly really want this, but she doesn't want to make him choose, and doesn't want to sort of just lay bare how she feels and how she feels like her body's failed her and it makes her less of a woman and all this sort of stuff. And like I feel really lucky to not have any experience with this sort of issue and to be educated more on it. I think it's really important, and I'm really enjoying that side of it. With all that said, it is also really fun, really flirty. Their banter and their relationship is so much fun to read. Like they give each other so much shit and bounce off each other so well, and I'm really enjoying that side of this book. I love Abby Jimenez's banter as much as I love the deep and meaningful conversations that she has in her books. So I'm loving it. I am probably going to sit on the sofa and smash out the rest of this. I've just got back from work, and honestly all I want to do is sit and read. All in all, really enjoying this one, so I'm going to go and sit on the sofa and finish this one up probably tonight. Let's go. This is emotional trauma. This book is emotional trauma. This book this is probably the most heartbreaking book by this author that I've ever read. I don't cry at books. I'm not a particularly emotional person when it comes to sort of like books and films and things like that, unless I'm 2 days off coming on. This had me. This got me. This was heartbreak. This was awful in like the best way. I devoured this book. I as I said, went and sat on the sofa and finished this one up, and the emotional rollercoaster that this book takes you on is just unfair. It is just unfair. I cannot fathom the emotions that this book has pulled out of me, and I can't even tell you why, but like this book is heartbreak after heartbreak, and then it like breaks your heart, builds you up a little bit, breaks your heart, builds you up a little bit, gives you all these positive possibilities, and then just goes, no. That's what this book does. Like even the ending of this book was like so positive. Like it is a happily ever after for our main characters, but like in the most heartbreaking way at the same time. Like they get their happily ever after, they get their happy ending, but like what it took to get them there was just devastating. It was genuinely devastating. I am traumatized. I am heartbroken. I am so scared for the next book in this series. I'm kind of tempted to pick it up immediately, to be honest, because I just had such a great time. I devoured this in literally 2 sittings, like 2 days. The topics covered in this book were so hard. There is so much around grief and infertility and just like the importance of being around your people. Like this one's gonna sit with me for a while. I am genuinely like so shook by this book. I really want to rate it a 5-star. And you know what I'm going to? I've been talking myself into a 4, but this is a 5-star read. I feel like for it to bring out this much emotion and this much like stress, it deserves a 5-star. Like, surely for me to be this emotionally distraught. So 5-star. Strong start for our TBR takedown. This is sitting at a 5-star. I really enjoyed this in like the most devastating way. This book ripped me apart. I didn't enjoy it, but I had such a great time. You know what I mean. You book girlies know what I mean. But all in all, I recommend this book. I've heard so many mixed things about this series, and people saying that like this series isn't her best, and like they didn't love this one anywhere near as much as like their next books and things. But I love this so much. I highly recommend giving this a go. So there you have it. Book 1, 5 stars. Let's go pick our next read. So I'm thinking this one. I'm thinking next I might jump into Next of Kin by Hannah Burnham Young. This is on my TBR for the month anyway, so I feel like this is a logical place to go. I am aware that I have just started 2 new series already, like literally the first book in each of these series, but do you know what? It's fine. I'm going to do it anyway because TBR takedown. Hey, here we are. So I think I'm going to jump straight into this one. This is by the same author that did Out on a Limb, and I absolutely devoured that one. I loved it so much, so I'm really hoping to enjoy this one as well. So when people pleaser Chloe learns that her birth mother has unexpectedly had another baby, she doesn't hesitate to become a kinship carer. But failing to meet the social services financial evaluation, she's faced with a choice. See her baby sister placed in foster care or participate in a new initiative where 2 prospective guardians join households to qualify. Enter Warren, a mechanic's apprentice attempting to get custody of his deaf 15-year-old brother. From the moment Warren drives up 30 minutes late, blasting music out of his car, Chloe is convinced that this is a very bad idea. But they eventually agree to live together for the sake of their younger siblings. In fact, they're far more similar than she could have imagined. What started as forced begins to feel natural and far less lonely. Chemistry soon intensifies beyond what either of them can stand. But is their mutual attraction worth risking everything they fought for? I have read from this author before and loved it again. She writes quite difficult and like personal stories into these, and I really like that element of writing. Like, I really like that in a romance novel especially. So another one I'm really looking forward to. Another one I feel like I've kind of been putting off. Like, I definitely put this one off for a very long time, and similar with this series. So I think this is going to be our next read. Let's just jump straight in. Hello. So I am back with a very big update because I've actually finished this book. So I feel like this happens on at least one of my videos every single month where I'm like, I'll give you a check-in halfway, and then next thing you know I've finished it. But I've done it again. I love this one. I love a Hannah Burnham Young book. I just think that she, again, very similar to Abby Jimenez, has those like really meaningful conversations running throughout her book. Like, this one is a foster guardian romance, and it talks on such big topics and like the trauma of like being in the foster system, and obviously depending on the parent situation. In here it's massively drug related, for why they're not with their biological parents and things anymore, and also them trying to care for their siblings. And it's just such an interesting setup and such an interesting story, and I was just so lost in it. So like I say, I read about half of it last night when I last checked in with you guys, and I have now finished this today. I absolutely devoured it. I've flown through it. I think the actual setup and the happenings of this book was so fun to read about. So we're following our main character Chloe. It's all from her perspective, and we're following her as she tries to get care for her younger sister. This book literally starts immediately. Like, in chapter 1, she's getting the phone call that her mum, who she's not spoke to for years, has unexpectedly had a baby. She didn't even know she was pregnant. She's had this really premature baby. It was born far too early. Spends a while in the NICU, and she basically has to either agree to care for this child or for this child to be put into the foster system. And she doesn't want that for her new baby sister, so she agrees to care for her. But she has to meet these certain criteria in order to be able to bring her little sister home. And there's this new initiative where basically the families can team up to meet these goals. So you have to meet like financial, living situation, work situation, and if you're lacking in one, you can basically be partnered up with somebody who has that. So in our situation, Chloe doesn't have the sort of like financial background to care for her younger sister. She's freelance. It's not exactly reliable work. She doesn't have a reliable wage. And our main male character, Warren, he has a really reliable job and financially he's doing really well, but he doesn't have the accommodation to have his younger brother. So he is trying to get custody of his 15-year-old younger brother, and they basically team them up because she has the accommodation that can accommodate everybody and he has the financial stability. So like together they can meet all the criteria. And this is the new initiative that's sort of in place for caregivers. And at first they really don't hit it off, they really don't get on, it's a really bad like first impression, and we're following them sort of navigating this new responsibility together. So they're a similar age, obviously his brother's 15 and her sister's a newborn, but watching them sort of navigate becoming parents together was so much fun. I just really enjoyed it. I loved the development of the romance at the beginning. They really are, like, I don't want to say enemies, but they're just very much trying to do their own thing. They don't want to get too close, they don't want to rely on each other. It's supposed to be sort of a short-term solution. It's only supposed to be for like a few months. So watching them navigate going from like being very separate, fending for themselves, to them finally sort of accepting help from people after not being able to rely on anybody was also just really lovely. So all in all, I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed the third act conflict. I think it was sort of fitting. I had sort of predictions of where it was going to go, and it was nowhere near as dramatic as I had sort of made up in my head, which I was glad about, because the third act conflicts I was predicting probably would have annoyed me, and it literally happened in like the last few chapters and was fine. So it made sense for the sort of storyline. It was nice to sort of see that it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and that like there are obviously going to be step backs and mistakes that are made, and it was nice to sort of see the more realistic side of it, I guess. But yeah, it was fun, it was spicy, it had some very deep and meaningful conversations while still being enjoyable to read, which I always really enjoy. So that is book 2 complete. I think I'm going to settle on a 4-star, but I did really enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to jumping into the next one in this series. I'm not entirely sure sort of like who we're following in book 2. I'm going to assume it's one of her friends and one of his friends, but I'm not entirely sure. There's been some sort of like hintings on matchups and things, so I do think we're going to be getting more of these characters hopefully in the next lot of books as well. So I, all in all, really enjoyed this one. Highly recommend. Can't wait to jump into book 2, which is Next to You. So we now have to choose our next book from our TBR, and I've just had a delivery, which means this book has just been added to my TBR, and I kind of want to tick it straight off. So oh yeah. So I do think we're next going to jump into Harvest Season by Bryn Weaver then. This is book 2 in the Season of Carnage trilogy by this author. If you've not read anything by Bryn Weaver before, she basically writes serial killer romances, and they are just the most fun. So this is book 2 in the series, like I say, and this one is actually going to be following on from book 1, so I can't give you too much information about this book. Obviously this is the newest book to my TBR, so it does feel a little bit like cheating reading this one straight away, but hey, it's still on my TBR and therefore can still be in a TBR takedown, so we're going to run with it. Let me just go and grab book 1. So book 1 is this one here. So we've got Taurus season and now Harvest season. So this series is basically following Nolan and Harper, who at the beginning of this book are enemies. They are both serial killers, and Nolan has basically come to Cape Carnage to get revenge on Harper for something that she did. It sort of goes from there. The serial killer romances, the trigger warning list in any Bryn Weaver book is, you know, like a good 2 pages long. We've got extensive lists of the weird sort of things you might be coming across in these books, so I am so excited to continue on with it in these ones. Definitely check your trigger warning, make sure there's nothing in there that's going to obviously harm you. So I love these books so much. They are dark rom-coms basically, so they are dark romance, but they definitely have that banter and comedy element in them. I absolutely love Bryn Weaver's writing. So I read this one a couple of weeks back while I was on holiday and absolutely devoured it. I'm obsessed. I love it so much, and I thought that this was going to follow a similar sort of thing to what the Ruinous Love trilogy did, where each book we're following a different couple. So all through this book I'm like, who are we going to be following next? And then this book ends on a massive cliffhanger ending, and it actually turns out that the series is going to be following this couple the whole way through, I think. So it definitely is for this one anyway. I'm not going to read you the back of this book because obviously it's going to give you a lot of spoilers for this one, but I highly recommend you giving these ones a go. I've not actually seen them side by side yet, and that's really cute. I can't give you much about this one, but I am going to read this one next because I'm not going to be able to focus on anything else because this is all I want to read, and I am a massive mood reader, and if I pick up something I don't want to read right now, I just won't enjoy it. So for our final book for this video then, we're going to jump straight into The Harvest Season by Bryn Weaver. Let's jump straight in. I just want to give you guys a bit of a check-in on Harvest Season then. So I am about 60 to 70% of the way through this. I'm on page 253. I am enjoying this one so far. I wouldn't say I'm loving it as much as book 1. It's really interesting to see where they're taking the story. This one is them sort of like trying to fix the mess that happened in book 1. and is a really interesting take, especially since I went sort of expecting to be following the same couple. It's nice to see their like relationship develop a lot further. I like that we're already sort of in the romance a bit already going into the beginning of this one, so we're not having that sort of slow burn situation. We're still seeing them sort of figure out their feelings alongside all of these like very strange drama filled moments that they're trying to sort of fix. I'm really enjoying the dementia conversation that's still going on through this one as well, and the sort of ups and downs of caring for somebody that has dementia. I think it's really interesting and definitely something that needs to be discussed and talked about more. So again, I'm really liking that and enjoying that aspect of it. As somebody who has experience with dementia and has had family members with dementia, I do think it's really nice to have the sort of truth behind it. I feel like if you've not had a family member or don't know somebody who's had like that awful disease, you don't really know anything about it. Like, it's just something that's not discussed day to day, is it? So it's really nice to see that written through this book. But yeah, I'm loving the caretaker side of this from both our main female character for the person she's caring for, and also for our main male character and like their relationship. I'm really enjoying watching that develop further and getting into more like nitty gritty of their feelings and things. And we also have like an extra POV. We've only had like 2 or 3 chapters from this POV, but I'm finding that a lot of fun. We're getting more of this sort of subplot, I guess. It's sort of what they've been searching for a long time, and it's got a lot of links to sort of Arthur's past, which is the older man that she's caring for. So we're getting some more from that side of things, and it's like sort of taking a bit of a darker turn, and I'm really enjoying that. So like I say, I'm not enjoying it quite as much as I enjoyed book 1, but I am still having a really fun time. It's probably sitting around a 4-star at the moment. I am flying through this, not as quick as the previous books that I've read in this video. I've only been reading this for a few days and I'm already nearly done with it, so I'm definitely making good progress. So I'm hoping to finish this in the next couple of days, and I'll hopefully get back to you this weekend with my final thoughts and feelings on this one. I finished this book about 4 or 5 days ago, but I've been so ill since that I just haven't been able to sit down and film. I still don't feel great. I still feel relatively crap. I've got too much to do. So here we are. So I just wanted to give you my final thoughts and feelings on Harvest Season. Obviously, with this being book 2 in a series, I can't really give you much information about the happenings of this book, but I will give you sort of like my thoughts and my vibes. So I really enjoyed this one. I would say I enjoyed book 1 more, but this one was still a hell of a lot of fun. So I think this one took some really interesting and really fun like sort of twists and turns, and I really enjoyed the ending. I think the ending has set up book 3 really nicely. Like, I am desperate to get my hands on book 3, which is a shame because, you know, we're going to be waiting a fair few months for that. I reckon it's probably going to be well into 2027 before we get our hands on book 3, because like I said, this one only came out literally a couple of weeks ago. We are going to be waiting a while to figure out what happens, but the ending of this was so clever, and like the twist that we had genuinely had me like, oh shit, like that's not gonna end well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that sort of pans out. But I really liked this. It was fun, it was heartbreaking, it was sad, it was heartfelt, it was entertaining, and just sort of like everything you expect from a Broomweaver book, to be honest. I haven't read a single book by Broomweaver yet that I've not enjoyed. I've read all of the Ruinous Love trilogy, and I've read obviously the first 2 books in the Season of Carnage trilogy, and I also now have the, I don't know if it's called the Shadow Realm, it's something like that, but her more fantasy series. I think it's technically her first series that she wrote, but like she's revamped it and republished it. It's basically like a fantasy version of her sort of story, so I think the main character in that one is a siren or something like that. But yeah, if she writes it, I'm gonna read it, and this one was no different. I absolutely loved it. It's just sort of keeping my thoughts on Broomweaver very high. All in all, a really enjoyable time. I think I'm gonna settle on like a 4-star rating for this one. I have been sort of sitting with the rating for a while, obviously with me having finished it a while back, or a few days back. But yeah, I think I'm gonna settle on a 4-star. Like I said, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as book 1, which I think I rated a 4.5 or a 5 in the end. I want to say it was a 4.5. I still had a really fun time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all wraps up into the 3rd and final book. There's been definitely some tests on their relationship. They are sort of to and fro all the time between sort of like hating each other and being so obsessed with each other. Like, the sort of setup for the whole series is he's gone to this town to kill her for killing his brother, and like, because obviously it's a dark rom-com, like they end up falling in love. So like the constant back and forth between them, like developing these feelings and then finding out more about each other and then being like hating each other again, and like they're so far into their relationship by this point that like when they find out this new information, it just really backfires, and I just think it's so much fun. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling on. I don't want to give you guys any spoilers, but I would definitely get your hands on this series if you enjoy a bit of a book or like a dark rom-com anyway. This series is definitely up there. It is incredible. So, a 4-star read for today. So there we have it. They're the 3 books I've picked up. I feel like we've had a really good sort of like reading sprint these past, well, every book I've read so far this month has been like top tier. I've absolutely loved them so far, and this one was obviously no different. So we have a very high start to the month of June. In this video alone, I think we've had a 5, a 4 and a 4. Like we've got some good reads. We've got some good reads. That's everything for today's video then. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my social media, my Amazon, my Goodreads and my business email are all in the description bar below. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you guys are well. Take care. Bye.